Hi there, everyone, and welcome back. I'm in Budapest for a few days and I'm here for some street photography. I've been scouting around for an image to shoot and I think I finally found it. This is the shot I'll be taking. I'm going to try and do it into some black and white fine art. The clouds seem amazing today. So now I'm here in the studio. This is the image we'll be editing, like I said in the video before when I was there in Budapest. And the sky was amazing. And I'll be turning this into black and white. I've already done local adjustments and global adjustments to the image. I've exaggerated the colors, as you can see. And now I'll be turning it into black and white over in Photoshop. Stick with me through this editing process, guys, and you'll be amazed by the results you'll get by using my editing technique. So let's take it over to Photoshop. Right now I'm in Adobe Camera Raw. You can use Lightroom also. So let's begin. We've opened the image in Photoshop now. And I'm gonna go down to the black and white circle, like I showed you in my previous videos, an adjustment layer, and I'm gonna click on black and white. Let's turn to black and white. I'll leave the sliders how they are, and I'm gonna go back down again to the adjustment layer and click on the gradient map. I use this method for turning it into black and white for all my images. Click the drop down window and click on classic. And then we have a better black and white image. It's much better than the one in Adobe Camera or Lightroom. And now we're going to flatten the image and take it back over to Adobe Camera Raw. Click on Filter, Camera Raw Filter, and wait till it renders in Adobe Camera Raw or Lightroom. So we're back in Adobe Camera Raw, and I'm going to make more adjustments with the exposure panel. I'm going to reduce the highlights so we get more detail in the sky. I'm going to increase the shadows. Increase the whites. Make sure check your histogram for clippings on the right side. If you see white in the top triangle on the right side, just dial it down a bit. Do the same for the blacks. As soon as you see the white triangle, just reduce it. I'm going to increase a bit of contrast, and I'm going to reduce the exposure. The image is looking great already. I don't think I'm going to use the effects anymore since I used them when it was a color image. You don't need to. And now I'm going to start with the masking, like I do always in my other videos. Check out my other videos on black and white editing. And I always start with a linear gradient. I place it over the top part of the sky, and I nearly always go halfway down to the image of the image. You can see the mask has covered the top part of this tower or dome thing here. So what we need to do when you see that, click on these three dots here over on the mask where it has mask 1, and just click intersect mask and select sky. Do not just use select sky without using a linear gradient, because you'll get halos around the dome or this pointed tower here. And now the mask has gone away from the building, and I'm going to reduce the exposure. Should be okay. I'm going to use another linear gradient and just cover the very top part of the sky and reduce the exposure. Should be okay. I'm going to do the same for the foreground. My method is nearly always the same with my images, depending on the image. I'm going to reduce the exposure here as well. I use one linear gradient for this image, and next I'm going to use the brush, and I'm going to try and enhance the lighter part of the image. The sun was shining from the right side, and I'm going to increase the exposure on the right side of the building where the sun is hitting the stone walls. You don't have to be precise. I'm going to reduce the brush size. It will help if you increase the image size also, but for the sake of the video, not to take too long, I'm going to leave the image size how it is so you can see what I'm doing. If you go over with the masking, you just have to use the subtraction here and we'll remove where you don't need the mask. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the subtract, and I'm going to use a brush, increase it, and just remove where I've gone a bit too far. Should be okay. A bit here. Should all be all right there. Maybe on the top part of the pointed dome here. And here also. And now I'm going to increase the exposure. Not too much, don't exaggerate. That should be okay. Next I'm going to use another brush, and I'm going to use it for this stone ledge here. Should be okay there. I'll be using the minus brush again. And I think I do a bit over here as well. I'm going to use the subtraction brush and just erase where you went a bit too far. Should be okay. I'm going to reduce it here. And I'm going to increase the exposure again. And that should be okay. Next, I'm going to use a radial gradient. I'm going to cover it just over here, where the sun was shining through just a bit. And increase the exposure. Should be okay. Next, I'm going to use another brush and I'm going to place it over the wall here. Reduce it. I'm going to use the subtraction brush again. Should be okay, and I'm gonna, like before, increase the exposure. I think I'd try the shadows. Always experiment to see which works the best. And there we just created contrast, light, dark and light. I'm gonna use another brush and now I'm gonna place it over the darker parts of the image, where the sun wasn't hitting. Don't have to be exactly. And I'm going to increase the exposure, reduce the exposure, sorry. And that should be okay. Next, I'm going to use a radial gradient. I'm using my imagination as I go along. Don't forget I told you the sun was coming from this side. And so I'm going to place a radial gradient somewhere here, tilt it just a bit, and increase the size like that. I prefer radial gradient than the linear gradient for this, enhancing the brightness of the sun. I'm going to increase the exposure. Not too much, always check your clippings on the histogram. That should be okay. I'm going to go down to the dehaze and reduce the dehaze so we get that glowy look. And that should be okay also. I'm going to step out of the masking, reduce it, check how it is, go back to the masking, and I'm going to see the before and after without the mask and with the mask. So this is without the mask and with the masking. A great transformation. Without mask and with mask, without and with. Now I'm going to use just one more radial gradient and I'll be creating a vignette. But the vignette, I won't be placing it in the middle like you usually see on other tutorials. Always place it on the brightest part of the image, which will give you a natural vignette. Don't forget to invert it. And reduce the exposure. Should be okay. I'm going to try and reduce it just a bit more. And that should be great. Step back a bit. And I'm going to check my masking, the before and after again. That's before the masking, and that's with the masking. Well, that's it for this final image. I hope you like it. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, all you new viewers, and give me a thumbs up, a like, to boost the algorithm for my videos. Thank you guys, and make sure to check out my other images while I'm in Hungary, Budapest. Thank you, and I'll see you in another video.